be... oh, I've still got the music in my headphones. Oh, still got the music. Can you guys hear music in your headphones, or is it just me? Oh, I'm on the wrong channel. There you go. That's a good start, isn't it? If you're on the wrong channel, you get some very funky lift music. Anyway, back to it. So thank you very much for joining me for the afternoon sessions, kicking off the afternoon sessions. The question I asked earlier on was, would it be a technology conference in 2023 without a ChatGPT session? The answer is no. And we have someone here who has very much embraced AI and has come with live examples of how we can implement AI in our everyday usage in the events and exhibitions industry. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Stephan Forseilles, CTO at Easyfairs. Just one point, actually, sorry. To ask questions, we're using Pigeonhole. So if you want to scan the QR code or go to pigeonhole.at and put in ETL 2023, and you can ask your questions. You can also upvote questions. And Stephan, will you be tackling them as you go on the monitor, or would you like them afterwards?
Okay, I can read them for
you. Perfect. Perfect. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending. Everybody hears me well? Okay, so can I have the slides on screen? Yeah, thank you. So AI in exhibitions. I think it's a big topic. If I refer to the program of that event, I have no less than 10 sessions talking about AI. I watched a couple of them this morning, very interesting, but I think it's something that's on everybody's mind at the moment. And a lot of people have questions. We see a lot of stuff happening. So my goal today is try to give you examples of how they can be used in exhibitions and how they can make our life easier and how they can improve the experience of our customers. It's an incredibly active field. If you look at all the companies work in AI, you see new ones all the time. You don't know where to look. You don't know what to try. We were speaking about ChatGPT. We will not just look at ChatGPT today. We will look at different types of AI. And we will try to answer questions. And one of the questions I get the most often is that, is AI the next quantum computing or metaverse or blockchain? Those technologies who are actually now viable and ready for the spotlight, but don't really pop up in our everyday life. Let's be honest. We don't use, some of us use blockchain because we use Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but quantum computing and metaverse did not really pop up. So the question is AI the next one of those? I think AI is just one of the many tools that we have. We have a lot of tools around. Is it the right one for us? Yes, for some uses, but not for every one of them. And then, if we specifically look at our industry, this is from the UFI's Global Exhibition Barometer. So they asked the industry, do you think AI has a potential, especially generative AI, a potential impact on our industry? And the nice thing is that 87% of the people in the industry, UFI asked, think that AI has a potential, or generative AI has a potential impact on our industry. The sad thing about that, that's the blue part of it, is that very few of them actually already use those tools. And if you looked at other presentations this morning, you might have seen other tools that look quite interesting to use. I'm going to try to give you more examples today, and I will be helped by some people in the audience who kindly sent me examples they agreed to show you. But what I want to try to convince you today is that it's one of the tools that we have, but it's probably one of the most interesting and important tools that you can have in your toolbox at the moment, and you should give it a try. Before we dive into the examples, I want to do like 3 minutes on what is AI, how does it work, and what are the different types of AI. AI is not new. You can see that I'm not that young, but I was already working on AI and artificial intelligence algorithms and neural network when I was at university. So I'm not saying how long it was ago, but it was quite a long time. But it's moving on, and we have no new types of AI. And we have 3 main types of AI. When you talk about AI, we really look at 3 different fields. The first one is the type of AI that will try to find a specific solution amongst a large set of possible solutions. These are the AIs that will try to recognize your handwriting, that will try to recognize what's on an image. We call them the discriminative AIs, and these have been around for a long time. When I say I worked with them on the early 90s, these were the AIs that were all the craze. Then you have the AIs where you give them a bunch of information about what has happened, and they try to guess what will happen in the future, on the stock market, on the real estate market, in your sales numbers, what could happen. These are the predictive AIs. And then there's that new wave of AI where you can actually ask them to do things for you in a natural language, and they will generate something that's totally original to what you asked, and these are called the generative AI. Maybe you don't see that very well with the seed, but they are called generative AIs. And these are the ones that have been exploding since a year. You know most of them. Grok is the last one, is the one from Elon Musk, was launched very recently. But then you have, of course, ChatGPT, Mid-Journey, generating images. You have Bard from Google. You have Bing. There was a nice talk this morning, and the person was speaking about Microsoft Copilot that uses ChatGPT. These are all AIs that are popping up. So for some of us, it might look a little bit like when you ask something to ChatGPT or Mid-Journey, it's a bit like magic, honestly, from time to time. It's so good. So I want to spend one slide. I'm trying to give you an overview of how it works. So if there are AI experts or mathematicians in the room, don't throw me your chair, please. I know I'm simplifying, but that's for the sake of the presentation. So basically, how do you do such an AI, like ChatGPT, for example? Well, you start by collecting a very large amount of data. When I say very large, it's very, very large. And then you break that down into small pieces. These are called tokens. If you look at a ChatGPT, for example, a token would be a word or part of a word. Just to give you an example, it's been estimated that there's no number communicated, that ChatGPT works with about 300 billion tokens. Just to give you an idea of the size of the data set that this AI works with. And what you do is that you link all of those in a network in a pretty random fashion. And then you tell the AI, this is a set of questions, and this is a set of answers to these questions. Give the questions to the network, and these networks are called transformers, and look at the result. If the result is not what we expect, modify those links between the nodes of the network so that it gets better every time. And you do that tens, hundreds, millions of times, and then it gets better all the time. On top of that, you can ask humans to correct it as well. That's what we call the fine-tuning. So we have a phase where the AI learns by itself, and then it gets tuned by humans. And then once you have this network that has been trained with that huge set of data, you can give it questions that it has never seen before, and it will be able to generate answers. And with those generative AI, it can be text, it can be music, it can be images, whatever. And as these generate things, these use a specific type of network which is called a transformer network. And these are pre-trained with data. This is what they are called generative pre-trained transformers, or GPTs. That's where the name GPT. So that's how it works. It's not very complex, even though the math that goes into those small links is pretty complex. But that's how it works. And so these systems have positive and negative sides. The first positive point is that they can generate very high quality content. An image like that, I think we can agree that it's a good quality image. And then when you see what a ChatGPT, a Mid-Journey, a Runway, or a DALL-E are able to generate, it's pretty amazing. They are very scalable. Something that you can do, and I will show example, and say create, for example, a personalized email for my customer, it can reproduce it millions of times without too much problem. They are very flexible in the output. If you look at the ChatGPT, it can generate images, it can generate text, it can generate graphics, I will show examples. It can generate a lot of things. You have AIs that can generate music. You can ask ChatGPT to compose a song for you. Whatever. It's very flexible. They are very creative in the sense that if I ask exactly the same image to that AI, the same way, I will get something different every time. Every creation is genuinely different from the others. However, there are downsides. The first downside is that, and we've seen that probably, they sometimes lack common sense. Sometimes you ask a question, and the answer is really stupid. It's getting much better. ChatGPT version 3.5, version 4, not the version what they call 4 Turbo is out since a couple of weeks. It's getting better all the time. I was in a talk this morning, and the person said something that really struck me. It says that everything we see from AIs at the moment is the worst that we will see in the future in terms of quality. It will only get better. And we've seen examples of people relying too much on AIs, like this lawyer who relied on ChatGPT for court cases. ChatGPT came up with a bunch of fake court cases. The lawyer actually used that in a real court, and now he's in a deep, deep trouble. They can have a bias. You've heard about that. If you've seen that we train the AI with a large set of data. If you have a bias in that data, and for example, in the data, it's been said in a lot of places that Belgians love French fries. Whenever somebody asks the question, I don't know, where in the world do people consume the most French fries, it will use the information and say it will be in Belgium. But it can be much worse than that in terms of race and gender, for example. So you have to be aware of that. There's another problem which I'm not getting into today, but which is called drift. Basically, drift is the problem that the more you use an AI, and that's been measured for ChatGPT, the more stupid it becomes over time. So you have to reset it from time to time because the answers get worse and worse. But they're working on that. They can be very sensitive to input. If you change one small thing in the way you ask, then you get a vastly different result. And this is why some people are specialized in asking AIs. These are prompters. It's becoming a real career path to be someone specialized in asking things to AI. They have no creativity. But Stephan, you said they are creative. Yes, but the only thing they do is to rehash together all of these small tokens which come from other sources. So if I create an image and parts of the image come or are inspired from other image, who holds the copyright on that? There are a lot of court cases ongoing, which causes problem with intellectual property. It was said this morning in a presentation that stock photography is probably a business that's going to die pretty quickly because you can generate your own images. Yes, but if this AI is trained with the stock photograph of a company, does the company own the rights to the generated images? For ChatGPT, there's a cutoff at the end of 2021. It will tell you, as of my best knowledge, end of 2021, that's all I know. But however, that's not true since about a week, because now they have refreshed it, and now ChatGPT is accurate until April 2023. So before that, it didn't know about any event that happened after November 2021. And the last thing is that they're very limited in the way they can interact with other platforms. You can ask them to generate things, but it's quite difficult at the moment to ask them to do things for you. Well, not anymore, especially since the people at OpenAI introduced agents. And I'm going to give you the first example of an agent that you can use with ChatGPT. So basically here, maybe I should move to find me a hotel to Event Tech Live. And so what ChatGPT is doing is that it's interacting with other platforms. Thank you, Tim. And in this case, it's Expedia, to book a hotel, to find a hotel for me. And you see that it can surf the web, it can interact with other platforms. And in that case, I've asked it, sorry, I will show you the next example, sorry. I asked ChatGPT to find me a hotel to Event Tech Live, and it interacts with another platform to try to find me a hotel. So I give the dates. I said maximum $200 per night, which I think in London is probably not possible, so anyway. And then it finds me option. And as you see, it interacts with other platforms. So that's done by using something called plugins, which you can activate to let your AI interact with other platforms. So there's a store when you can activate plugins. It's for free for the moment. But that's a way where you can have ChatGPT interact with other platforms. Another example here. Let me just start the video. I asked ChatGPT to learn everything it can about Event Tech Live in London and about the company I work for, Easyfairs. And then I asked it to write an email to invite me to the show and motivate me as much as possible to actually come to the show. So I will let you judge by yourself the quality of the content. So it checks the website of Event Tech Live. It checks the website of my company and a bunch of other websites I don't know about which relate to that, apparently. And it makes an email to invite me to the show, and it says, as you can see in the content, it found about where it happens, what I do, how it can be interesting for me, when it happens, what are the sessions I might be interested in, etc., etc. So this is a pretty simple example, but as you can see, the AI was able to get information from different sources, put them together, and make an email that's just for me. What does it mean if you can apply that at scale? It means that basically, you don't need to segment anymore. You know, you used to create segments of people and send them emails per segment, or try to do dynamic content. If you can scale that to every customer, you just say, this is the information about my customer, this is the information about the show, make an email which will be different for everyone. You can even say, oh, use a different tone of voice depending on how well you know that customers. This is another example where if you can scale it at size, it's a very different way of actually addressing your customers. Another interesting plugin is one called Zapier. I will not go into details, but basically, if you don't know Zapier, it's a platform that lets you create bridges between different platforms. There's a connector for ChatGPT, which means every platform that works with Zapier, you can use it in ChatGPT. And we will have that in a demo later. But know that it means that Salesforce, I don't know, Zoho, other CRM platforms, CMS platform, you can integrate them quite easily without writing zero code. So what does it mean in our daily work? I've tried to gather examples and ideas of how we can use those AI in our day-to-day work. Of course, for sales, finding prospects. It can search the web for us, finding the competitors of those prospects and say, okay, I have that exhibitor at my event. How can I find its main competitors? Getting information about companies, finding the right startups. In terms of marketing, creating promotional material. We've seen example of designing targeted emails. Design, there's a tool called Microsoft Designer. Basically, you get in there, it uses Microsoft Copilot. You say, I need to design a poster for this and this and this. Makes you a bunch of proposals. You say, I like this one, but change this. Basically, it's having your own designer, always standing beside you and always ready to make any design for you whenever you want. In terms of managing our surveys, this is an example that we do at Easyfairs. We do surveys on every event. You know, nobody likes answering to surveys, but we have to do it anyway. So what we do is that we operate in a lot of different regions. The first thing is that we use an AI to translate all the answers to English. Translation works now pretty well. You can rely on it. But the next thing we do is that we have an AI that does what we call sentiment analysis. So every answer gets a score. I only took the best one here, which goes from -1 to +1, saying it's very positive or it's very negative. So I show you the most positive one, but I can tell you when you organize an event, looking at the most negative one is very, very insightful. And this makes the lives of people so much easier, because if you need to understand why people give a bad score, you can say, let's look at the most negative sentiment score, and then we can find why they gave a bad score. Because sometimes people give a good score, but put a very negative comment, or the opposite. This helps you a lot and makes you gain a lot of time. Creating content. We will see a demonstration about how you can use it to help people organize meetings at events, but this will come later. In terms of creating content, We've seen that we've created email, but I've used it to create web pages, to create newsletters. I have an example where I ask it to go and fetch information about a specific industry and create a newsletter with the newest information. In terms of content creation, I want to show you an AI that I love very much, which is called HeyGen. And HeyGen is specialized in language and lets you do quite cool things. For that, I have sound in the next video. I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Hello everyone. Welcome to this presentation about artificial intelligence. It's a topic that I find very interesting and where there are many innovations at the moment. I hope that with all the examples we will see today, I can give you some ideas about how you can use artificial intelligence in your day-to-day work. In any case, I'm very pleased to be with you today.
Hallo zusammen, herzlich willkommen zur Präsentation über künstliche Intelligenza. È un argomento che trovo molto interessante e in cui ci sono molte innovazioni al momento. أتمنى أني بفضل الأمثلة اللي بحنشرها اليوم 无论如何，我很高兴今天能和你在一起。Hallo allemaal, welkom bij deze presentatie over kunstmatige intelligentie en zijn toepassingen. Це тема, яку я знаходжу дуже цікавою і де в даний момент є багато нововведень. 日常の仕事で人工知能を活用するアイデアを提供するため、今日のチェア En cualquier caso, me alegra mucho estar contigo hoy. Es un día especial.
So I could stop there. I don't speak all of those languages, of course. The only thing I had to do to generate that is take my video in English, drop it in that box, and say I'd like to have it in another language. Then it makes the video with my face, my voice, my movement, everything. Imagine what it means for the people in your teams who are responsible for creating content. It means that you record that session, I'm being filmed, I drop that in that AI, and I have the session in, I don't know, Mandarin, like you saw there. The time you can gain by doing that. And I've been asking to people who actually speak those languages. It's pretty accurate. And it works with any video. Well, quick example.
En tant qu'adolescent, j'ai aidé à livrer des ordonnances et à tenir les comptes. J'ai appris l'importance de respecter ses engagements et tenir ses promesses.
I don't think he speaks such a good French. I don't know, but I just dropped the video from YouTube, and it just translated it. But it's not just that. You can just write text, and it will read it for you. That's just an example.
Creating videos from a script is really easy. All you have to do is create your avatar and write the text you want it to say. It's very useful when you create trainings, for example. If you want to change a small thing in your content, you just have to modify the script and generate the video again. It takes a minute. No need to search the laundry basket to put back the same t-shirt, record the new section, and cut the whole video again. What a time saver.
So it just fixes my accent, basically. But it's my voice. I think you will agree. With a better accent. You want that in another language, you just say, translate my script and read it in another language.
Crear videos a partir de un guión es realmente fácil.
So
todo lo que tienes que hacer
imagine
es
the
crear
time
tu app.
saver it is for the people who are creating trainings. At the moment, I have to drop the video and wait for a couple of minutes for it to be translated. Within a couple of months, or maybe a year, it will be real time, which means that people who follow this session will hear me speaking Polish, and they will not have will have no idea in which language I'm speaking originally. I think that very soon we're going to have Zoom meetings and team meetings where everybody will be speaking and hearing their own language, but you will have no idea what's the actual original language of the person. So in terms of accessibility, making transcriptions, making explanations, I think we have, I saw that real-time transcription happening as well. This is a huge time saver as well. In terms of personalizing the experiences, making recommendation, matchmaking, all of that, creating personal assistants. We have been using chatbots for years on a website, right? So you have to train a chatbot, and then it becomes an expert in a field, but it's just an expert in that field. I was watching an interview of someone specializing in that, saying that basically my business will be dead in a year. Why? Because ChatGPT introduced the GPTs, which means you can create your own ChatGPT specialized in a given domain. So basically, how does it work? You just say, create a new GPT, give it some documentation to read. There I uploaded a manual for what we call my Easyfairs application, which is the application where our exhibitors manage all aspects of their participation to the show. I say, okay, using the document as attached, act as a support agent for that application. Then it creates my own GPT, which is separate from the rest. And it goes into a GPT store, and you can actually sell your specialized GPT if you want, like an app store. Very easy. Then it says it's ready. The only thing I'm going to do is change the name. I call it my Easy GPT because we're Easyfairs. I save it. I decide that it's only for me and the people I know. I don't want it to be public, but you could decide it to be public. And as of now, I can start to ask questions about my application. You will say, yeah, but that's not very different from what we used to do with chatbots in the past. Well, first, it's pretty good at generating answers because you know that ChatGPT is very, very good at generating natural language. So I can ask questions. But the nice thing is that, yes, you have the specialization, but you have the whole knowledge of ChatGPT beside that. All of the capabilities of the full ChatGPT is available, which is not the case with the old-fashioned chatbots that we had in the past. For example, here, after that question, I can ask it to generate an image, for example, which is totally not in my training. But as it's ChatGPT, it can generate images. And there we go. I create an image of me using the application. And I say, oh, make me look happier, because I don't look very happy to use the application. It can do that because it has the full knowledge of ChatGPT. And I've created my own chatbot in what, about 30 seconds. And by the way, it's ChatGPT. So I only gave the training in English. What if I ask a question in French? No problem, I get an answer in French. In very good French. So I don't have to train him in all of the other languages. ChatGPT knows how to translate things. So very useful, very easy to create your own specialized version of the chatbot. And we're going to see some example of that later. Other example, helping in conversion. We saw an example of creating what I call one-person segments. Everybody gets a different message. Another thing that we do, and that's an example we have at Easyfairs, and that's a predictive AI. It's not a generative AI. People pre-register to those events, okay, like this one. But not everybody is going to come. So we have 15 years of data about registration. We use an AI to train. We train an AI to calculate a probability that these people are actually not going to come to the show. So I can say that there's a 92% chance that this person, it's anonymized, is not going to come. And by the way, that's a post-show, and indeed, he didn't come, or she didn't come. Imagine you know that in advance, how it can help your conversion before the show. Because this information you can feed to your marketing automation system. And then you can have different tracks and say, okay, those people, it's much easier to convert these people than to find new ones. So I can spend some money and effort into giving them incentives to come to the show. That's another example, real life. We use it all the time, where you can use AI to actually improve your events. Data cleaning, data duplication. One of the problems we have if you're a trade show organizer, people register what they put in job function. It's all over the place. How do you do statistics with that? You can use an AI to map that to a shortened list of standardized job functions, for example. In terms of sustainability, optimizing the logistics, we manage venues, optimizing the energy consumption of events. And one thing I want to show you is what ChatGPT calls the advanced data analysis. And I've put a baby there because I will explain just after. Let me just show you an example with ChatGPT data analysis. What I drop in ChatGPT is a list of registrants to an event, list of visitors, basically, anonymized. And I say, okay, this event happened in Flanders Expo in Belgium. Do you understand the data? Very important to make sure that it understands the data. And you can see that it's pretty good at guessing. It even guessed what our no-show prediction is, it says, oh, that might be the likelihood of visitors. That's me. That's that one, I guess. Sorry about that. 1, 2. And then I ask it, can I get the mic back? Let me pause that for a second. One, two. Am I back? 1, 2. 1, 2. Sorry. Maybe will just shout, okay? It's okay? Okay. So, let me get back there. And maybe I will move on a little bit. So it understands my data pretty well, okay? Even my no-show prediction I showed you just before. Then I ask it to show me, to make me a graph to see, so I can see if people register long before the show. How long before the show do people register? Boom, there you go, you have a graph. Pretty easy. And then I say, make a pie chart with the modes of transportation, because we ask that when people register. How do you come to the show? Then I have a graph, but it's not very detailed, because I know we also ask them, is it your car? Do you share a car, etc., etc. So I say, add information about travel type. It makes an error, so it tries another way. Pretty smart. And then it combines everything, and then I say, oh, I have this. This stuff is not very readable. So I say, okay, make it a bar chart, because it's more readable. There we go. I have a bar chart. Then I go a bit further, and I ask it, do you see aberrations in the data? I've made a test, and I can swear to God it told me I saw a cyclist, I saw somebody coming with a bike from 645 kilometers away, and it said either it's a data error or it's a pretty dedicated cyclist. It was quite fun. They say, okay, it finds some strange things, but not too much. So I will ask it, okay, remove the aberrations. Logical inconsistencies, like the cyclist from 500 kilometers away, which it does. But I need to make sure that I did not distort my data too much. So I ask it, how many did you delete? It says it deleted, can't remember it, I think, not much. 26 on 16,000, so it's okay. I did not distort my data too much. So I asked it to calculate the distance for each visitor. There you go, distance from, I want to make sure that it calculates it well, so I say, use the coordinates I gave you. Then let's go a bit further. Let's ask it to calculate the breakdown of distance by mode of transportation. Pretty interesting to know. You know where I'm getting at, right? Probably. There we go. A bit further. I ask it if it's calculated using the right coordinates, or if it's a round trip or not, for example. It's not a round trip, so I say make it a round trip. It will double the distances. There we go, we have distance by mode of transportation. Then I give it a small file where I have per mode of transportation the CO2 emitted per kilometers. And I say use that as a reference, and then calculate the CO2 emitted by each visitor. And it gives me the first examples to see if it makes sense. And then the total CO2 emitted for each mode of transportation. You see where you're going? you can go further and further. It's basically you have your own very good data analyst on your side all the time, ready to answer any of your questions. And then, of course, I can ask it to calculate the total CO2 emission of visitors coming to my show. Just with my file I exported from my registration system. I had 0 formula to write, I had 0 data to look at. So that's an example. And there you go, we had, can't remember the number, but 115 tons, so pretty high. So you could ask it, can you optimize that, for example? It's nice, but you should be cautious with it. I show you that, but I need to give you a warning about that. And then I'm almost done. We'll see other examples from the people in the room. Be very directive with what you do. Always checks for aberration at each step, like you saw me doing. And privacy is not guaranteed. If you upload data in ChatGPT, it might resurface in other people's queries. So you can have your own version of ChatGPT. It's pretty expensive. If you become the public version, be wary. Always use anonymized data. Don't upload secrets. Some companies have forbidden their people to use ChatGPT because of that. So some other examples. For those examples, I would like to call people from the audience here. And Mikita is the first one from Expo Platform. He kindly sent me an example that he will explain to you himself.
Hi, everyone. Hello, hello.
Excuse me?
Hello. Oh, hi, everyone. Thank you, Stephan. So you saw a little demonstration before about training generative AI, in this case ChatGPT, on documentation from Stephan. So Stephan uploaded a couple of pages of documentation. We went a little bit further, and we took the entire documentation of our platform, and we trained a model on that. And so this is an example of how it behaves. So essentially, you can type a live query into it, and it will think for a little bit, and then what it will give you back is a response that you can understand, digest your question, and it will give you sources to where it found that information, right? So we talked about one of the problems of generative AI at the moment is it doesn't understand what it's giving you back, right? It has a good understanding about what you're asking it, and this is something you can validate by kind of playing with it to tell you back what you asked it. There's a good understanding there, but then what you get back generally is a collection of these tokens that were trained. So by putting the sources in there, the person who's reading this documentation can then go and refer and get more detail on these things, and we're kind of getting a little bit more backup. So one of the uses of this is, of course, support. So this is kind of for end users. You could be exhibitors or visitors who are attending your event. They want to know how to use the platform. It's also for our customers, so for the exhibition organizer. If they're learning a new platform, it becomes much easier for them to digest it as well. We can move on, I think, Stephan, for the next one. So one of the important things here was, for us, was to kind of validate, is it actually giving a response that makes sense? Because one of the basic problems here is that it can very confidently give you things that are simply not true. So what we did is we put some of our experts, internal team, to test it and give us feedback and say, okay, you're an expert in the platform, ask it questions as if you're a user and score them. Did it get the answer right? Did it provide you links to the correct articles? We've broken that down by kind of areas of our platform. So you can see each of the bars there represents an area. And we asked them to give it a score of from 1 to 10, basically. Well, from 0 to 10, really. And you can see that for the majority of the areas, it's scored remarkably high. We're talking about kind of 6.97, so basically a 7 out of 10 average across everything. And then we looked at why is it that it doesn't give such a great score in some of those areas. Email marketing, I think, exhibition, something. And we realized that the documentation wasn't well written. So actually, this is highly promising in terms of what you get back from it, right? This is hundreds of hours of interaction saved, right? So as an end user, as a visitor, or even as an organizer, if you have a question, you don't need to wait for an email answer. In most of the cases, you can get the problem resolved by just interacting with something that will read and interpret the documentation for you and give it back to you in a kind of understandable format. Thank you.
Thank you. Next example is from Tim.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so at GRIP we do matchmaking and meetings for events. So, for example, the hosted buyer area is done by us.
Hi everyone, this is a
can we
brief
turn
video.
off the sound on that? Perfect, thank you. Yeah, that's me recording it, but this is nicer. So what I did is I created a kind of anonymized file that started looking at how can we help people have better meetings. So making sure that we can use it both to request meetings, and rather than you having to write a message of why you want to meet with someone, being able to actually use this information to write a meeting request message, or as in this example, create a meeting briefing document, so that when you're about to meet with someone, wouldn't it be nice to tell you exactly, hey, this is why you should have this meeting, this is how you should structure the meeting. And then I used kind of a like basic integration with Zapier to create this kind of structure, which is kind of like a meeting briefing document, as you see. It has all the details kind of the two people. And then what it does is it basically creates the output. So it creates this meeting briefing document between two people. So we've been doing some internal tests with it, started using it for some basic kind of concierge service type events that we've been doing to say like, okay, is this relevant information? And this is where you can see the output. So it tells you the exact agenda, what are the topics you should discuss with this other person, how should you structure the meeting, and what's our potential follow-up steps that you should have afterwards. So yeah, it's been quite interesting, and yeah, continuing to iterate and fine-tune this from an experience point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last example, because we only have 2 minutes left, is from Matt, but I don't know if Matt could do it. So it's okay because I have sound on the video. If we can put sound back.
My name's Matt Coyne. I'm from Waves Connects, and we create content sometimes with the help of AI too. Today we'll talk about how to easily create content from roundtables and workshops. First up, record your content. It doesn't matter how, i.e. a pro setup or if you use a good mic on your phone, but you want the best quality possible. Next, transcribe your video. We use something called Descript, and it's proved pretty good so far. Now we copy our transcription into a product like Jasper, scan the QR code for a free trial, and set your tone of voice, hit summarize, and you can refresh until you're happy with the summary. As I've watched the interview and read the transcript, I know it was discussed in the recording, so I know if the summary points are on the mark or not. Then we expand on the bullet points with the related content, so this could be from the transcript or bring in the human touch here. Once everything's ready, we eyeball everything, just to make sure it is right. And that's it, hand it over to be designed and distributed. If you want to chat through this in a little bit more detail, scan the QR code or drop me an email, hello@wavesconnect.com. Thank you.
And if you want to talk to Matt, he's somewhere here around, but he's hosting one of the stages. So coming back to my question, is it the next metaverse? You know, it was supposed to revolutionize everything, and basically, I don't think so. I think you would be very pressed to come up with so many examples of people actually using the metaverse in a production environment, especially in our industry. So I don't think it's going away. If you ask me, I think it's more of a revolution, to be honest. I think it's going to change a lot of things. And to finish, I'd like to finish on that last slide to make you reflect a little bit about, should we give importance to this? Should we allocate budget and time from our teams, or my time, to it? Look at this. If I look at the past 20 years and the main technologies that have been influencing us in the past 20 years, things like the iPhone, all of these, electric cars, Netflix, etc., a lot of them had 10, 15, 20 years sometimes to actually mature and become really relevant, especially in our industry. If you look at generative AIs, remember that ChatGPT was available in November last year. That's basically a year from now. And everything that you will see going now is improving. At the speed it's improving. So what can it do in 5 years? Or 10 years, or 15 years? And my point today is try to give you examples that would motivate you to say, that will be an important part of my life and of the business in the future. And if I want to be part of that change, maybe I should spend a bit more time, if it's not the case yet, or a bit more budget on this type of technologies, as and also a message for the industry as a whole. So I don't know if you have time to take 1 or 2 questions. I see them here. Okay? Maybe we can put the questions on the screen? Okay, you can. So the first one is, what are the issues that can arise in putting potentially sensitive data? I touched on that. It can resurface on other people's queries, except if you use what they call the corporate version of ChatGPT, which makes your own GPT. But then you have to pay per query that you do. So it's possible to have a walled garden in ChatGPT, but you have to pay for it. So will it contribute to job losses? I don't think there will be job losses, but I think there will be a lot of job changes. People will have to acquire new skills. You saw things about translation and content creation. People who actually do the translation now, maybe they will have to use the tools differently. It will definitely increase their productivity, but they will have to change the way they work. Can it be iframe? Yes, but it's much better to use it through the API. So you can have your own interface, your own look and feel, and then you use the GPT API to actually connect. And I see, please finish, so yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. But you can find me around after or connect on LinkedIn if you want to discuss. If you agree, don't agree, have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a round of applause. So, Stephan, you're going to be here for a little bit in and around the show floor if anyone wants to. Okay, perfect. I think they might have thrown up a few questions that maybe people don't want to ask.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So thank you very much, Stephan Forseilles, CTO at Easyfairs. We're going from Stephan to Stephan in our next session at 2 p.m. here, navigating the evolving world of events. And that's with Stephan Barnett, who's the head of Zoom events at Zoom. See you then.